Good evening. Welcome to the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Well, here we are on this Martin Luther King Day 2021, quite a few years after the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I heard my first words from the Declaration of Independence when I was a young man back in the early 60s from Dr. King. Dr. King stood for change through nonviolent means. He stood for unity among all peoples, not just African Americans and whites. There are more people in this country than those two races that ever stood for change. He received cries against him from the opposition. I say his dream came true in America. Black and white children getting together, playing together, and studying together and growing together. In some cases, even marrying. But some people still believe that this is not true. But it is. I see a more, even the country is not perfect. We're still, as far as race lines and everything else, we're more unified than we've ever been in the history of this country. He stood for something that some have forgotten and others have ignored. He used the very right that this present government is now trying to stop, the right of free speech. He preached nonviolence, but it took his assassination to bring real change. How sad for this nation. And it's not because of the color of his skin. It's because he spoke really of equality for the content of a person's character. It had nothing to do with the color of the skin. We tried for so many years to create this thing of racism. I'm going to read some stuff, so a few words here from our Declaration of Independence. And then we're going to take a break, and I'm going to do something I haven't done here yet. But we're going to do this, and this is for those of us who are for America First and for people, and to hear what we, the people, have to say. Now, we know how the Declaration of Independence begins. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, whatever. But I want to just read a section of it, because I think this is very important. This is one of the sections that some are saying is not true, and it is true. It may not be perfect. None of us are perfect, nor is this country or any other country perfect. But we are moving, I believe, in some cases in the right direction, because people are waking up and seeing that their rights are being violated in this country. Now, I heard these words from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He is the one that got me started on my march toward patriotism. Even some members of my own family didn't understand what Dr. King was actually for. It wasn't about the color of your skin. It was more about who you were as a person, the content of your character. He goes on, he says, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. They that are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed." See that? They derive their powers from you, the ones who are governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it. Government we're talking about. I'm not calling for violence. I'm telling you what Dr. King was saying in his speech. And to institute a new government, laying its foundation on such principles, organizing the powers in such a form as to them shall seem more likely to affect their safety and happiness and prudence, indeed will dictate the governments. Long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. Accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable. Well, we see right there what Dr. King stood for. He stood for government. I have Indian background as well as Jewish background. Thank you, Jerry, for your comments and your question. Suzanne, Calagian, I believe it is. Then let the media stop blaming Trump supporters if it was Antifa and BLM. Yeah, it would be nice if they stopped blaming. To tell you the truth, Suzanne, they've actually already stopped. But if you're watching the mainstream media, they're always going to do that. Well, if you go to Newsmax, you come here, you go to One America News, these different people are telling you who it is. They're telling you what the DOJ has said and the FBI has said, which they knew it was an organized effort by the BLM and Antifa. So there are people out there doing it, but you're not going to see it if you watch mainstream media. They're going to continue to lie as they always do. Thank you, Suzanne, for your comments. Davy Sloan. Nancy says Trump was anti-Semitic. I don't know where she got that from. She says she loved Jews. How much can America swallow before we all throw up? I agree with you, Davy. My name's Davy, too. But I'm just saying, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Because when Trump came in, he said nothing else other than the fact that he supported Jews. He even talked about loving the Jewish people. He even had relatives that are Jews. His daughter married a Jewish man. So this is pure foolishness. If I hated a Jewish person, I don't think I'd want him in my family. I'd think to keep him out. And I descended from the Jewish people, too, out of Africa. But I tell you, the main reason Trump did what he did in the Abraham Accord was nothing dealing with President Trump alone. And I spoke about this recently in one of my programs, about the fact that God's judgment and his things have to go forward. So the Abraham Accord was supposed to happen. If President Trump didn't do anything else, when he established that Abraham Accord, he set the clock in motion toward the end times, the peace between the Middle East. Thank you, David Sloan, for your comments. J.W. Harding. Let's see what this is. J.W. Harding says, they that are stupid, they want to defund police, yet when the cowards hide and run from the BLM and Antifa, they wanted the police to protect them. Yes, J.W. Harding, I agree with you, and I thank you all for your comments. I agree with you wholeheartedly, sir. And it was funny to me, but you started talking about that, but look at Portland. Look at Washington, D.C. Why you call in the National Police, which that's what the National Guard is, to protect you? Why are you worried? Leave the streets open. Let BLM run free. If you're not worried about the inauguration, let's just let it go. Let's let it all go. Let it all go. That's what they did. Miss Nancy Pelosi said, this is going to be the summer of love. Well, the love is killing hundreds of people, destroying people's businesses, and causing over $2 billion worth of property damage. That's love for our country. She's a fool, and eventually she is going to face her judgment. Well, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back at you here in a moment on the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Welcome back. You're watching the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Well, I'm going back a little bit because we're going to look at the Civil Rights Act a little bit. I'm not going to go too deep into it because I discovered something, people. Be careful with Google. Google facts. Google, to me, is no longer to be trusted, especially when it comes to politics. They have been manipulating the facts. I don't know if you have to do research on government authorities yourself, but they have been manipulating the facts and changing the numbers. I already looked. I'm like, wait a minute. When I looked here before and I got my information from here, why is it saying the opposite? Just like they flipped things in past days. In November, they flipped our history. They wanted to destroy our history. The Democrats led a 14-hour filibuster led by Senator Robert C. Byrd in 1964. Robert C. Byrd was a known Klan member. He was a known Klan member and a friend of our President-elect Biden. President-elect Biden called him a mentor, as he stated, please, at the end of his funeral in 2010. I'm recording, and we need to understand that he was a Klansman, and you have a president now that supported and was in love with a Klansman. Yet, they accuse our president, Donald Trump, of being a white supremacist. Wow, what foolishness. When the Civil Rights Act passed, which it did pass, it didn't pass because of the Democrats. Now, of course, like I told you, the history has been changed. They're shifting things around. They're trying to keep our kids out of school so they can shift everything around so they can make those things that are wrong and corrupt look good. Man, it's so sad. You know, we need to get back to reading books. I like to read books, and I'm reading now. I'm reading a lot more books, a lot more hard pressed, because a lot of our facts, people, are being changed in our history books as they were in the past. Let me tell you something about this issue about the Capitol. We're going to talk a little bit about, this is a quote that I got out of something that was put out by the Daily News back in 1964. It talked about the scene outside of the Capitol when the Civil Rights Act was passed. I want you to listen to this. Listen to this very clearly. But the scene outside the Capitol was not sedate. So they were very sedate in the House because they had fought for 83 days through a filibuster that lasted that long to get the thing passed, to get it passed, to get the Civil Rights Act 1964 passed. And needless to say, they jumbled the numbers, but Democrats were the greatest involved in those filibusters. Of course, in the history, if you look at Google, don't look at Google, but they shifted things around so that they can make it look like the Republicans were the bad guys as usual. They looked and said, there's a crowd of several hundred, listen to me, civil rights activists, most of them white. Wait a minute. I thought that there was a problem with blacks. Okay. Most of the advocates of the civil rights movement and the Civil Rights Act approval were white. There was also a large number of blacks or African Americans who cheered wildly as the news came forth. They stayed on the Senate steps to applaud each senator of the congressional fight as they emerged, dead tired after 15 weeks of deliberation. You think the Democrats just started their garbage and dragging stuff on? People, I'm telling you, if it quacks like a duck, if it walks like a duck, guess what? It's a duck. And they keep trying to say that, oh, we've changed it. No, they're not. What they've changed is the history that you see. They like to shift history stuff around. The history books, a lot of people, a lot of scholars will tell you this. They know the original documents. When they get these things in the schools that we have and they try to split what our children are learning, teaching them lies, not the truth. Well, we're going to take a short break. We're going to be right back with you here in a moment on the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Welcome back. You're watching the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. The GOP say that they are preparing to combat against Joe Biden's radical policies in a 50-50 Senate. In a 50-50 Senate, the tiebreaker, of course, will be the vice president. In this case, Nancy Pelosi. Kamala Harris. What did I tell you? Keep watching. This has occurred one other time in history, recent history. In 2001, Vice President Dick Cheney held the tie-breaking vote in the Senate. But in fact, to pass any major legislation, so don't worry people, to pass any major legislation, a supermajority is needed. And that means 60 senators or more is typically needed. But a simple majority could pass budgets or tax-related bills, which directly affect the American people. Wouldn't you know it? Simple majority to hurt us. Meaning Biden will still be able to raise your taxes and expand that sham Obamacare. There are, however, some senators, thank God, on the Democrat side with the Republicans, such as Joe Manchin, who already opposes several radical policies that Biden administration wishes to push forward. Let's pray more will join the Republican Party against these radical policies that I would also venture to say unconstitutional policies that our newly elected president is trying to push forward. Republican power in the chamber will hinge largely on their ability to filibuster, which I told you before, that's another thing that the Democrats are trying to get rid of. They're trying to get rid of the filibuster so they cannot hear the voices of the Republican senators. Thank God the Republican senators in the House, the Senate, they got to let the people speak. Now, granted, they're going to have arguments and jumping over because the Democrats are very disrespectful. They like to cut people off. They like to jump over people, cut you off when you're talking. Very rude. How many of y'all know what rude means? You have people that do that, you're trying to talk and they cut you off. That's what the Democrats do for a living. That's what they do with our government. Our government. Congress belongs to us and the Senate belongs to us. They are owned by the governed. We pay their salaries. A lot of them don't deserve it, but we pay it. The debates of supermajority is needed. They'll be able to vote, the debate. Let's say they tie 50-50. They can filibuster. If they get like one extra vote, they can filibuster to get, actually they can filibuster anyway, to get the 60 needed to pass any major bills. Republican possible swing votes are, listen to these names, because you want to make sure, constituents, that you get on their butts to make sure that they will stand up for the rights of the American people when they go to vote in the Senate. Their names are Senator Mitt Romney, Senator Susan Collins, and Senator Lisa Murkowski. If you are constituents, you need to stay on their case to vote along party lines against radical policies that President Biden is trying his best through the Democrat Party to bring forth. These policies are put down are this. If they don't line with us, we could probably have that minimum wage raised, which will hurt so many small businesses out here. It'll be unbelievable. Expanding gun regulations. I know y'all don't want that. They won't make any headway if you stick behind your Republican senators and congresspeople will be able to hold the line. Now, I don't know, I heard something recently and they were talking about, so I heard a report recently, they were talking about, people coming after your guns, the ATF, they say, well, they knock on your door, don't open the door. I don't know, that's all right, but we don't see that happening in the near future. It's going to be hard to do anything like that because a lot of the Democrats themselves have weapons and they want to be protected too. They don't want a bunch of regulation on them. Let's take their guns away so they can't protect their families. See how that works. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with you here on the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert in a moment. Welcome back. You're watching the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert on the CTM News Network, the Voice of Truth. Right now, I'd like to take a moment to thank my friend George over there and the others at the Black Pack who have been supportive of this program. We're calling for other sponsors who believe in the vision. If you have a business out there, I know a lot of you probably got businesses. If you want to advertise and this program is reaching your area, then please advertise on this program or advertise on our channel so that you can reach your people who buy and purchase things for your websites and your stores. We will prepare an ad for you. If you don't want the expensive cost or the cost to prepare an advertisement, let us know. We'll send you the contracts. You email us, and we will prepare and get the commercial together. We can do it a lot cheaper than you. So go ahead, let us know about that, and we will get that underway. We could do it for an extremely cheap rate. Right now, we're offering $20 for 30-second spots. If you're crazy, you'll pass on it. But if you're not, you'll get right on it. Because this program, as you watch it right now, we're getting a lot of views because we're sticking up for the rights of the American people. Okay, we're going to go ahead and close with this one story here. We're just going to go around a little bit here because I want you to understand something. Social media, as I told you before, a lot of them are going to be history. Because the Democrats don't like you and the Republicans don't like you. Matter of fact, there are countries out here that are now protesting against social media. Social media such as Twitter and Facebook or Facebook have lost over $51 billion recently combined in their market value. Their stocks are going down, people, because they're censoring you and me. You guys, you too as well, you need to stop. The mayor we need to stop. Stop censoring people. This country was founded on free speech. Ask yourself this question if you're in either of these companies. If your wife or your husband, let's just say it this way, I'm going to bring it to you. If your wife or you married a husband, let's say women first. If you marry your husband, you say, hey, honey, I want to do this, and can we go do this? And you look at you and say, shut up. You can't say anything. Be quiet. I don't want to hear what you got to say. You do what I say do. Now, some of you may have mates like that. But that is exactly what the Democrat Party is doing in our government and to the American people. They're saying through blocking conservative media, we don't want to hear you. We don't want to hear what the conservatives say. Shut up. Yet we're speaking for you, the American people. Now, we have been assured, at least on some channels or viewways, that we don't run any risk because they've already downplayed our little things because mainly the main attack was against our President Donald J. Trump. So, we're going to continue to present our conservative views in regard to policy, in regard to Senate votes, House of Representative votes, anything else that's going on in our nation in regard to this conservative viewpoint as we go forward. But I am saying to social media, stop the censorship. Stop the censorship. Because you think the 230 Act is not going to pass, be done away with? It will be. It's going to be done away with because the Democrats are going to find out, because you want to let them find out. you will censor them as well. Some of you might be in their pocket, but some of you are going to censor them as well. You've already been blocked out of certain countries, Uganda, for one, who don't want you meddling in their affairs. Even China, the CCP is even coming out against censorship of the media or against conservative viewpoints or any viewpoints. They're even coming out against you. I read an article just recently that the Chinese Communist Party don't even want that to happen because you block people's opportunity to share their views with other people. Now, they might do it in their country, but they don't want you doing it here. So watch out. Twitter. That guy on Twitter, to me, is an idiot. He is a freaking idiot. To me, he's like one of the hippies back in the 60s. He's probably younger than that. Maybe he's not. He's like one of the hippies back in the 60s. The mayor of Washington, D.C., as I told you earlier, has said that they have 25,000. Now, President Trump sent 20,000 originally, so they added another 5,000 National Guards to that. So Washington, D.C. citizens, watch out. They're going to put you under martial law. That's simple as that. They're putting you under during the inauguration, and then after that, your mayor is saying that she wants to continue to put your butt under lockdown. People, let's pray. And pray that our governors and our mayors will fight against these lockdowns. Because it's only a scheme by Antifa and BLM to destroy American people. People, don't be mistaken. Just because you see these little groups of Antifa and BLM around doing this, they've been around for 20-something years, people. Over 20 years. They've been undermining our democracy and our constitutional rights for years. They didn't just pop up out of nowhere. And they're supported by some of the big companies in this country and around the world. Do some checking on them. They're going to hide it. But I've been able to do some checking on it. And if they keep it up the way they're doing, these companies trying to block conservative speech, then I'm going to start sharing some of those names that I know. Why do we need this? Why do we need to fight against censorship? Why do we need to do it? Let me tell you why we need to do it. Because we have a Supreme Court and justices that are sitting back, just like the Democrat Party is, falling asleep, refusing to hear cases, refusing to stand up for their citizens' First Amendment rights. And I pray that they will stand up for all of our rights held up in the Constitution. But obviously, some people in the constitutional protection viewpoint are just being silent. I call them chickens, really. Supreme Court, I call them chickens. Because what they're doing is, they're trying to be safe. Let's be safe. Let's stay back. Let's not say nothing. We don't want to offend anybody. Let me tell you something. I'll say a couple more things and then we're going to let you go. This white guilt mess that's out here, people, stop this mess. Most of us know that those days are over. Now, if things were like they were in days of slavery, you think it'd be this many people of any race, black people especially, walking around free on the streets. Yet, you have a Democrat government that wants to lock you down. Doesn't that sound like imprisonment or slavery? Tell you what you can say and what you can do. Next thing they'll be telling us what we can or what we cannot eat, or how we can speak when we go into a PTA meeting, or what words we can say. They already in Congress don't want you to say mother or father. That's sexist, they say. What foolishness. People, you got to stand up. We're going to be protesting a lot in the coming days, but I say it's worthy of the opportunity to do so. We need to exercise our rights to demand free speech and demand that our governments do as what we elected them to do. Because the Democrats have been lying to the people for years. Kim Klacik, running for congresswoman, told you in my hometown, They have lied to us for years. Tell us, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And all they do is give us subsidies, free cheese, welfare checks, and projects. That's what they do. That's what they did for the black folk for years. And a lot of them died in the slums here in America, believing in the Democrat Party, knowing that the Democrats, they knew that they were keeping the money. It's all about the Benjamins. They were keeping the money. They were suckering the people in and say, vote for me, vote for me. It amazes me how blind some people are. Even people that I know, blind as freaking bats, still running behind this party that really don't give a crap about the African American people. Just because some of them just happen to be black themselves. How sad. And some of them know me, they'll probably turn this program off because they know I'm telling the truth. They don't want to hear it. I told them even in my message on Sunday. I told them you need to stop looking at the color of a person's skin and look at them like Dr. King said, based on the content of their character. Our president, who is gone now and he's leaving office, he said, I stand for the American people and I look to God for what I am doing in this country. Are you going to hear that ever again? I don't think so. I pray we do, but I doubt it. I haven't heard it all my life until President Trump came into office. So, Twitter, we're going to talk to you for a minute before we close. You are still placing nails in your coffin. You're placing nails in your own coffin. Now you're censoring Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. You're censoring her because she came out against Joe Biden, saying that on the first day after his inauguration, she is going to file for impeachment, articles of impeachment. Why can't she? Why not? He did what they accused our president of doing and they passed impeachment orders against our president when there was proof that President-elect Biden did what he did. There was proof he did a quid pro quo. He came back from Ukraine and admitted to it on national TV. He admitted to it. So what are we saying, people? We saying it's okay for, let's say this, it's okay for blacks to do this, but it's not okay for whites. It's okay for Asians to do this, and it's not okay for Hispanics to do that. Since we want to get on race and all these different things like that, it's okay for Democrats to do this, but when a Republican does it, it's considered treason. It's considered, what do you call it? What's that thing? Homophobic. We become homophobic or xenophobic. Yet we've seen the Democrats do the same thing over the years. And did we call it anything? I'll tell you the truth. What the Republicans need to do is start bringing back, and some of them have done it, bring back their own words to them. When you see President Biden do some of the stuff that he accused us of being xenophobic or homophobic when doing in his policies and in Congress policies, I want you to bring up those words, those very words that they used. Start accusing them of being xenophobic and homophobic or white supremacists. Because I'm telling you, some of them are. What did I tell you a few weeks ago? I told you about the Democrat Congress people who were secularists. They don't want you even talking about God. They want to get rid of "In God We Trust." Good luck on that. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think our country has gone that far left. I'm hoping not. Anyway, I thank you for joining us here on the Black Conservative Voice. My name is David Colbert. Please come back and join us here tomorrow on the Black Conservative Voice on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Once again, I want to say to you what I always like to say: God bless you, God bless America, and God bless the world. And until next time, this is David Colbert here on the Black Conservative Voice on the CTM News Network saying good night and God bless.